Hey bookworms, welcome back to my channel and to another review. Today I'll be talking about The Parable of the Sower by Octavia Butler. One of those books that I just had forever, and then I thought, I'm in a mood for a good audiobook, so let's just give this one a try. This book is a dystopian future set in the very near future, and it's kind of sad how I can really see our society going down that road. In the world of the story, society is pretty much the worst case of slums that you can think about, just enhanced more. It's a very dog-eat-dog sort of a world. There is very little water. People are killing over it. There are some drugs that make people crazy and murderous. And the greatest danger there is fire because there's so little water. So people are living in fear that people will just rob them for the little that they have. And it's very dangerous to just go outside. So you have this gated community where the story at least begins. And then something happened that sends the main character to this journey to find a better life. And on the way she meets people and their little group is growing and more people are joining them. And together just trying to survive. So right off the bat, I want to say this book was very interesting from the beginning until the end. And when I say end, I mean the end of, let's call it a chapter. There are sequels, I think 2 sequels to this book, which I haven't read yet. But it doesn't end in a cliffhanger, which was nice. You can really see that something has ended, and in the continuation, they will go into a bit of a different direction, which I find is a very nice and good way to end the book. Overall, other than interesting, the book was really impactful. It has some really harsh realities, but at the same time, it wasn't too hard to read. I think she kept a really good balance between showing how hard the life over there is without being too trigger warning. Speaking of, I'll just mention it right now. As for trigger warning, there is death and rape sometimes of very, very young people. Dogs are being killed there. Dogs are feral there, so they're like the enemy. None of these things are being described really graphically, but it's there. Like you will see the body of an 8-year-old girl who was raped before she was murdered. So if you're very squeamish about anything related to those things, be very careful and think twice before reading this book. So a bit of more detail other than this is a very interesting and good book. The characters were really interesting. She had many sort of different people from different backgrounds. And I thought, the characters kind of clash with each other sometimes. Sometimes they had really good chemistry, but these are the sort of things that are happening. We're just walking around and kind of collecting people who just think that there's safety in numbers and you're kind of trying to survive together. I thought it was very interesting the way that different people kind of interact with each other. I thought the plot was very interesting. I thought the journey was very interesting. I thought the way that she portrayed this world. Unfortunately, even today, for some people, the thing that the characters are going through is very similar to reality. It's very sad, and it's sad because it's true. I think that you can talk about a dystopian future that happened 100 years in the future. This book is a very, very realistic sort of dystopian future. Speaking of, it was very obvious that this was a say about the current situation that some minorities are facing, some poor people are facing, the fact that the police are the enemy. They're not there to help. The government, the society, everyone, they don't care about them. People who are supposed to help you don't really help you. And like I said, it's sad because it's very realistic what's going on there. As for things that I didn't like, there aren't many. I listened to it in like 2 days. One thing that I wasn't too crazy about was that this entire book is written like a diary. The problem I had was not with the first person or anything. It's just that think of the situation that I just described. They have to flee for their lives and, they're in the middle of nowhere, just kind of trying to gather food and supplies and money. And she writes a diary. That didn't really make sense. I mean, I know writing is her way of dealing with some of these things. I totally get that. But at some places, I just felt that it didn't really make sense. She actually writes right after or at the ending of the day when these events occur, and sometimes she talks about some really heavy things. I don't know, at some points I just thought it does not make sense that at these situations she will just sit down and write a diary, not to mention that sometimes, you know, they didn't really have a lot of supplies and they were really careful about not making fire in order not to attract different people, and they were outside at night. How can you write with no light? I don't know, this little thing that did not make sense to me, that this will be a diary. That's it. But other than that, I think this book is great. It's interesting, it's fascinating, it's written very well. Like I said, the harsh reality of a so-called future and the way that, you know, just the fact that it was very realistic to life today, I thought it was a very interesting and good choice. If you're interested, don't let the word dystopian future deter you. I know that some people don't want to read that because they're very much associated with some cheesy and not so good YA novels. I know, and even though it is technically a dystopian future, and even though the main character is, I think, 18, no, she's 16 or 17 when the book begins, this is not like one of those stories. This is a very mature, sometimes hard to read book. It talks about some really serious stuff, and even if you don't want to read it as a commentary about our society, as a story, the plot line, the events that are happening, the characters, they're all really interesting, they're all really great and written very, very well. So if you want to read a very interesting modern classic that takes place in the future, but the near future, and is not very, very far away from our society, give this one a chance. So guys, that's it for my review. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to click like and show it, and also to subscribe to my channel if you dare. And feel free to check out some other videos from my channel. They're floating around as I speak. So thank you again for watching. I hope you enjoy, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.